Hi everyone, hopefully you found this video as part of the fantastic Corona Diary project. It's a much needed, brilliant way of us really documenting these strange and very different times that we're living through. And I've been asked to put together a video really just kind of talking through kind of what I would want from a diary, what I would put into a diary, how I would write a diary entry really. And diaries have been important throughout human history. The recording of kind of events that have happened and recording of different things has been important forever, and they've always interested people. They've always interested other people to read them and to kind of just captivate them for long periods of time. You only have to look at the fact that we still teach and read Anne Frank's diary, Samuel Pepys, and it's really important when you're writing your entry for the Corona Diary that you think about what it is that makes those diaries interesting, what it is that makes them so popular, so long after the fact. Why do people keep coming back to them? And I think what it is the fact that they are deeply personal, they are informative, and they tell a story. Each entry in those diaries tells a different story. It has its ups and downs, it has its narrative path as you go through it. Not necessarily through any intent. I'm not saying Anne Frank sat down and wanted to write a story, but because they've written in such a personal way, and because they've written about things that are personal to them, things that interest them, things that were important to them, that gives it that story, that gives it that interest. So the things that you are going through at the minute as children in the time with Corona, with COVID-19, are so unlike anything else that anybody in living memory has been through. And what will make that interesting to people now and in the future is your thoughts on that, your opinions, your hopes and dreams and fears that are all being impacted by these massive worldwide changes. If you think Anne Frank's diary, if you've read it, she doesn't just talk about, I went downstairs, I had Weetabix for breakfast, I walked into the kitchen, blah blah blah, and all that kind of boring stuff. She talks about the things that mattered to her at the time, and it isn't all about the persecution of the Jews in Europe at the time. It's not all about one subject. She talks about her crushes on boys. She talks about her frustrations at the family, her frustrations at being kept cooped up for so long. She talks about her admiration for the people that snuck them food and that helped them to survive. She talked about hopes and dreams in the future. Okay, and you've got all of those kind of things being impacted by COVID-19. So when you write your entries, whether you write them on a day-by-day basis, whether you're collaging, whether you are just Instagramming them, however you are doing them, I think what's so important is that you make them personal to you. You make them personal to your situation, because your situation is going to be so different to somebody even on the same street as you. If you've got more people in the house than somebody else, you're going to be more cramped, you're going to be more frustrated, you're going to have more arguments, you're going to have more kind of concerns about how this will go on for longer and longer. But also, if you're in a small household, if you're an only child, if you only live with one parent, it may be the fact that actually it's isolation that's more of a concern. You're frustrated because there is nobody else there. So your experiences are going to be completely personal to you, and by putting those into your diary, by getting down how you're feeling about things, what it is that you're worried about, what it is that you're excited about. Are you worried about when you go back to school, your friends having made different social connections through social media or through WhatsApp or things like that? Are you worried that when you get back to school and you go to play football, you'll have forgotten how? Something silly like that. Or how are you feeling about the fact that perhaps for months, for years, you've kind of moaned about school and you've said, oh God, I don't want to be in school, I want to be at home, I hate school, and then suddenly you've got this opportunity where for 6 months you're not going into school. Is it what you hoped? Or is it a completely different experience. And actually now you sit there thinking, well, I'd sooner be in school. I'd sooner be there with my friends. I'd sooner be there learning, you know. All of these are your personal experiences, and that's what people want to read. That's what I want to read. That's what I would want to be writing, is how it impacts on me. If you're year 6, or if you're GCSE, you know, if you're year 11, or if you're year 13 and all your exams have been cancelled now, how does that feel? Are you angry that you've put in all of that work and you won't get to sit those final exams? Or are you happy? Were you know, especially year 6s with the SATs perhaps, who haven't put in all of the coursework, are you sat there thinking, well, you know, great, I don't have to do my SATs. I didn't think I'd do very well, or I didn't think I'd cope with the pressure and the stress, or how are you feeling about that? Year 5s, year 10s and year 12s that are just about to go onto those exams. Are you worried that this 6 months off of school, this however many months off of school, is going to impact on your future? Are you worried about university? Are you worried about your career that you want to go into? How are all these things building up? Because it's so different to anything we've seen before. That what will make this interesting, what will make this kind of a diary that people pick up in years and years to come, is to look back and think, I can't believe that was how the world was. And I'm fascinated by how children are coping with this. My daughter, she's 8, she turned around to me the other day and she said the thing that she was finding most scary, and the thing that upset her the most, is that unlike anything else before, me and her mum, my wife, can't tell her what's going to happen. We can't say things are going to be okay tomorrow, things will be back to normal next week, because we just don't know. And I think a lot of children will be feeling that. And I think that's part of the beauty of this project as people read it, is that a lot of people will look at it and realise that they're not alone in their feelings. They're not alone in their hopes or fears or worries about this. And actually, you know, there will be things where people read it and think, actually, I didn't realise that people were in that situation around the world. I didn't realise that people were having to put up with that. I didn't, you know, if your parents are both at home now and are working from home and you're getting frustrated because you're under their feet, or you're all getting on each other's nerves, and you then read a diary entry of somebody whose parent is going off to work in a hospital every day and putting themselves at risk as one of the heroic workers in hospitals at the minute, whether it's an NHS nurse, whether it's the cleaning staff, whoever it is. So, you know, even shop workers putting themselves all this risk. That's a completely different household. They're going to be worried about completely different things, and to be able to see that and understand each other's point of view is going to be so important in the coming months. And we can only do that, we can only understand each other's point of view if you guys put it into the diary. If you write about these things, your situation, your hopes and fears, your day-to-day different life, how it has changed. Because we don't want to read necessarily that you've gone down and had Weetabix. But if you're having to cope with the fact that you just cannot get your usual breakfast cereal, or you cannot get loaves of bread because they're out of stock in the shops because people are stockpiling, or you've not been able to make an essential run, your parents haven't been able to make an essential run to the supermarket, and so you're having to adapt every day with food, that's when it becomes interesting. That's when it becomes different. That's when it becomes a real draw to the diary, when it's like, actually, I would normally come down and have toast for breakfast, but the shops have been sold out for 3 days now and we can't have bread, so we're having to have different things. Or we're having to bake bread for the first time in my life. I'm having to bake bread. Maybe it's something like that. All of those things, all of those personal experiences from all of you out there that are watching this video, that are hopefully going out there to write 1 or a dozen diary entries through whatever medium, they are what is going to make this such a fantastic, amazing project to look back on when all of this is over, and it will all be over at some point. And they are all going to just make this absolutely fantastic. So I hope that's been helpful. Please go away and just think, what is your story to tell from this? What is it that makes it yours? What are you going through? And this may be a great place for you to kind of get out all of those ideas that you're not sure about how to talk about, you're not sure about how to say them to another person. This could be that point where you actually just get it down on paper, and actually it can be really cathartic. It can really help with your mental health to get your fears especially, but even your hopes and dreams and worries and just your excitement about certain things. Get that down on paper, because it can help. It can help you to understand your feelings. It can help you to put your feelings into kind of some sort of order and some sort of sequence. And even if that's all that comes out of this, even if the only thing that comes out of this project for you is that kind of mental health well-being of really thinking through what it is that's going on in your head at this time, this strange time, that's a fantastic result. Okay, so go away, think about your story, think about your situation, think about what it is that's going through your head, and put it down into those diaries day by day. Write it down, grab a piece of paper, get onto Instagram if you're on Instagram, do it as a picture, do it as a collage, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's writing or drawing or crafts of some description. It's all keeping that story of this event alive and spreading it and passing it on to future generations. So thank you for listening. Hopefully it's been helpful, and I look forward to seeing the kind of diary entries as they come in, as the book gets published and produced, and I really cannot wait to read them. Thank you very much.